Pledge Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Start off with citizen concerns. Didn't David have one? He had his helmet. All right, none. All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. I'll move that. All right, motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 3 through 6 constitute a consent agenda, routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3, approval of the minutes of the July 23rd, 2019 meeting. Item 4, approval of claims. Item 5 from Human Resources, A, is approval of requests to deauthorize county positions. Melissa, were these ones on the agenda or in the back of material it was saying for discussion as well as action? Okay, all right. So B is authorization to initiate hiring process. And then C is memorandum of personnel transactions. Now, the was the sheriff requesting new positions, new wages? What was the exact changes in this?
He was, Mr. Thomas, Human Resources Director. He was some promotions here for a couple gentlemen with the deauthorizations of the old positions.
So is this maybe something that's maybe more suited for a budget cycle rather than mid-year?
What do you think, Dennis?
Well, I talked a little bit about Dave, the sheriff, and he says he does have the money in the budget through various other sources within wages. As to the actual money in it, I'm pretty sure the 85% for the chief deputy is in there because he's paying that now currently. But when you go to captain, I don't know if that's taking the place of who or what. All I know is he's got the money in the budget for the current year. How that affects the next year coming up when it comes to the budget cycle, I don't know if that's going to add to it. That'd be a question to the sheriff.
And obviously, the captain is not a percentage deputy.
What was that?
The civilian captain would not be percentage deputy.
Okay. But he did send that over to me, and I asked that question. He said he had the money in the budget, and he also said that I asked him if it would impact the future tax askings, and he said no.
Okay.
Supervisor DeWitt, did you?
I'm just not sure how this much money is not going to affect future tax askings.
Well, is there a raise? Are there raises?
About 5,000 total.
About 5,000 total.
That, okay, I'm just saying, I asked the question. Okay.
Is it because of the deauthorization negating those?
I don't know. It'd be nice if Dave was here.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Him directly, because he's the one that kind of figured it out.
Well,
He told me he had the money in his current budget. He's told Pat it won't affect the future. But the question comes back, where's the extra 5,000 coming from?
So how does this coincide with elected officials being able to set their own percentage? I mean, that's up to the elected official, correct?
Right. When you approve a position, a deputy, for an elected official, then the statute says you can pay up to this amount. If that elected official certifies that, you're locked into paying for that. You approved the position. The law says how much you can pay. So that's the extent of that.
So at this point, I'm just wondering as far as it relates to, you know, something like Willie Garrett, an 82% deputy, that's an elected officials to be able to set, correct?
That's correct.
And what does the Board of Supervisors have authority to limit?
The rest of his budget,
Okay. So he has,
right?
he's completely authorized to do what he wants up to his statutory limit anyway, unless we,
Which would be 85.
at least for that position,
Right.
unless we want to say, okay, now you're going to have to come up with $2,242 or reduction
Yeah.
somewhere.
Really, at this point, what he's doing, he can do, and it's already in his budget. But the question comes at next year is the same question that I asked him, is that's when you have the budget authority, is that if he's going to pay that, is that you do have the ability to take it from someplace else if you want to, in order to make up that difference.
Because are these three deauthorizations basically the same three additions, just changing title and?
Yes, yes. So then when they change the title, they leave their current position to go to the new position. We take that current position out of the system, basically.
Do our budget books reflect, you know, for this office, when we approve one of these deputy positions, it's at 85%? That's what's
Yes,
in the budget?
yes.
Or do we approve based on the request of,
When we, like Ben said, when we set the budget up, we set up 2 85% deputies. When we did the budget.
What if, yeah,
Right, but this would be that there's already somebody else at
I
85.
guarantee he was paying them the maximum what he.
Right.
Right.
My question would be on the captain, the deputy captain. Was that a position before, or is this a new position? Because we're eliminating the percentage lieutenant, making a percentage captain.
Yes, that's a new position because they eliminated his old position of lieutenant. That he did a lieutenant before? Yeah.
What was the percentage for the deputy lieutenant?
It does say here the percentage raise he received here. Let's look here.
2.5%, yeah.
Was that 79 and a half?
Yep, so he received, 2.5% raise.
The $2 amounts, the 22, the 25, he's getting from other budget areas within his budget on wages through people retiring or quitting at a higher rate, higher or lower rate. Next year, this will come in effect. So when we budget, we'll have to budget at these higher rates, and like Pat's saying, he's gonna have to make it up in his budget. You have to prove what he certifies here, because they're percentage deputies. And he has money in his current budget to pay for it. Next year, he's either gonna have to find 4,500 or whatever the total amount there is, 4,700 in operating costs to offset this, plus the benefits. Or you approve the increase in wages next year. But really, this year, you can't, fortunate or unfortunate, you can't stop it, because he's still got the money in his budget, and he can certify up to that percentage, because the board has approved these deputies previously.
Well, yes and no, because this is asking to deauthorize the positions now and then authorize them now. And then he sets the percentage.
Correct.
So if we didn't move on any of these actions, then,
You didn't move on any, they stay status quo till next week. Okay, you'll be in past the August date he had, but you can always do it retroactive too. We've always done retroactive, if you want to talk to Dave about this. Delay it 1 week.
Can he set the percentage at whatever he wants without?
As long as he doesn't exceed the maximum statutory rate.
I mean, so he could do, you know, he's going to do a deputy lieutenant not at 79.5%, but at 82% and have the same effect, correct? I mean, we can't.
He
limit-
seemed like that, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I mean,
Just
I-
pretty much just changed the title. He could have raised it without changing his title. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's,
I don't think
yeah,
there's
it's,
salaries for majors, lieutenants, captains, it's just all by
No,
percentage,
that's
just title.
at his discretion. Mhm.
So is the 5,000 not an issue because somebody retired recently that was,
Nobody has retired. Yep, there's no, it's not a
okay,
backfill
I
situation.
didn't remember hearing of that, so.
Well, you have jailers quit, new jailers come on, they're hired at a lower rate, and that's probably where he's making it up. Jailers come,
it's just
and go by.
confusing because there's two captains. Right. A deputy and a civilian.
So are there, I mean, there are other raises besides the
The
is-
deputy?
deputies?
Yes, there is one other wage plan raise, and that would be
Harlow.
the civilian captain.
Okay.
That's just a flat raise because that's another percentage.
That's a 3.25%, correct. They brought him up to the other civilian captain.
So we do have one other civilian captain.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the other civilian captain?
Wasn't that Phillips?
Okay.
I guess what is the feelings of everyone as far as,
Well, I guess I'm not totally convinced that this isn't still going to affect next year's budget. You know, if he's rearranging some funds or using funds that are unused, okay, I get it, but I still I'm not convinced that somewhere down the road, next fiscal year, that something's going to change and he's going to need that dollar amount more. And I'm not sure that I won't be here to remind him that he said, no, it won't increase.
How long have we been in this fiscal year?
1 month.
1 month?
Not even a month.
not even a month?
30 days to be exact, Marty.
That's pretty quick. That's my only problem.
Yeah.
If we have no say over it, I mean, I'll be fine with it. It bothers me that 1 month into the new budget is when we decide to do this.
Is this in just one fund, Dennis, or,
Yes.
Yeah.
General basic.
and what has the carryover been? I mean, has he spent all of his budget during that period?
Last couple of years, he has not.
Okay.
He has not.
I guess,
We could defer the 3 positions till next week and,
well, everything aside, if it's just a money issue and so forth, and if he says he's got the money for it, then I have to look at it like it's only a money issue. That's what we control. We don't control who he advances or whatever. So that's I guess I feel I have to look at it strictly as a money issue and leave it at that. So,
As long as he's not violating anything as far as the percentage of people, I just don't like the timing.
right, exactly. Anyone else got an opinion on it? That would have been nice if he was here for this, but.
Yep.
All right, I guess, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is? Oh, sorry, I gotta hit 6, I'm sorry. Mark's probably like, oh, you guys cutting me out of there? No problem. Item 6, secondary roads. A, approval of permit to work in county right-of-way for Doyle Turner. B, approval of permit to work in the county right-of-way for NIPCO. C, approval of permit to work in the county right-of-way for Long Lines, Inc. D, approval of permit to work in the county right-of-way for Western Iowa Telephone. And that would end the consent agenda, any?
nope.
Nope.
That's what it says.
Oh, okay, yeah, this one's probably been taken off.
I'll move it.
All right.
Second?
Got a motion by Taylor, second by DeWitt. Any other discussion?
The Gophers are all going wild.
Yeah, on the county right away, that's what it is?
Yeah.
So we've got,
Doyle's doing us some good. He's taking out a snow trap for us, so
okay.
that'll be a help.
All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, consent agenda passes 5-0. And let's see here. Moving on to item 7 from secondary roads, A, approval of donation of old office copier to the Woodbury County Fair Board.
Our current copier is between 5 and 6 years old, but it is still functioning well. It's much better than what the Fair Board has. We checked, we have too many clicks on the meter that it doesn't have any trade-in value. We really don't need to have a boat anchor sitting around in the back of the office and sitting there unused. The Fair Board has a need for it. When the new company, we had this in our budget this year to replace it, when one source comes and picks ours up, they'll take our old one over to the Fair Board and then continue to service it for them just as they are now.
Second.
I guess it's probably better use than taking it out to the Prairie Hills facility and putting it on the range, so.
We got another one if they want to do that.
Okay.
Not as fun, though.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
Who was the second? I missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't announce
Okay,
that yet.
thanks.
I probably didn't ask if there was extra discussion on that, but passes 5-0.
Okay.
All right, moving on to B, approval of recommendation of bid for project number, did you say 136 or?
136, yeah. The parent number is always the number to look at with that.
We got one hot mix of asphalt overlay project for County Road D38 east of Bronson.
Yeah, this project we had originally intended to let in March, but because we were pushing up against our 3-year borrow ahead on our farm to market balance, we had to delay it until July. The prices that we got in July were more than 20% over our engineer's estimate. It's my recommendation that we reject all bids and then re-let the project in January.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by Young. Any further discussion on the item? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. I got one more signature for you here.
Thank you.
Or two more.
Just one quick follow-up. Our survey out on Benton Avenue, if you remember that dead-end road coming off 120th Street, it did show that the utility had located their power pole structure on our right-of-way. Even looking back in the prior to 1959 right-of-way, the inside pole was even inside that narrower 40-foot right-of-way we had at the time. So we're preparing plans to ditch that west side. Mid-American is preparing plans to put in a deeper pole structure to accommodate our work, and sometime here September, I'm estimating we should be able to go out there and ditch it. We won't be doing the full upgrade that the folks out there were requesting, but I think if we can improve drainage along that west side of the road, we should be able to maybe alleviate some of the problems that they're experiencing in the spring.
At a lot cheaper rate than 136 or 56,000 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it would be if we put on the 6-inch base with the material underneath of it. If the board still wants to look at pursuing that, we can continue to discuss it, but at the very least, we need the ditch one way or the other, so we're going to try and work to get that done here this year.
Sounds good. Moving on to item 8A with building services, approval of Goldberg Group Architects LEC Master Planning Agreement for pre-design planning services work packages. Take her away, Kenny.
Kenny Schmidt, Building Services. The item before you is work package agreement with Goldberg Group Architects for architectural and design plan services for a new law enforcement center. We've discussed the issue of what to do with the current LEC for the past 4 to 4.5 years. Discussed again in our meeting last week. brought forth all the information from the advisory groups and the Law Enforcement Center Committee, and come back today with a recommendation to approve a architectural design and planning service agreement with Goldberg Group Architects. I'd like to try to answer any questions anyone may have about that.
Any developments since last week?
Only development is that Larry Goldberg apologizes. He couldn't make it to the meeting this evening. He had some other existing engagements to attend to, so he apologized for that, and work with us a little bit. Originally had the agreement drafted where both parties had to attest and sign at the meeting, and we had that changed quickly, and other than that, no real updates, kind of the same old information.
Do we have any questions on any of it? I guess for the public, this is kind of a culmination of a lot of work getting to this point. And this is kind of the first step in getting towards the point where we look to ask for a referendum to move forward on the project. But we have to have a pre-design planning to get there, and this is why we're moving forward with this today. So that being said, I'll move it. Did you have anything else to add there, Keegan?
I think, just for clarification, it doesn't sound like we're going to incur expense until closing, is that? The fee structure of this?
Well, we would incur the costs of the service agreement, work package 1 through 3. If we were to move forward with a referendum and approve construction, then the board would have to approve work package 4 of this agreement. And work package 4 would be Goldberg Group's work on providing information that would be used in the public's education on why we need a facility replacement and what all the aspects involved with that would be.
And I'm sorry, I should have narrowed it and specified that municipal advisor. Maybe Joshua, you can help with this as far as an RFP out for that. I'm just looking at the second page and talking about these resources get their fees at closing on the bonds, so not anticipating net expense from them at the planning period.
Right, we've got that on our next agenda item coming
Okay,
up,
am I
Jeremy.
jumping the gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on A?
And we have 2 motions on 8. The first motion is to approve the Goldberg Group Master Planning Agreement. The second motion is to reallocate CIP funds, which we've identified that we would.
That's item B on the agenda, right?
It is,
Yeah.
item B, and that would cover the costs of the agreement.
Yeah, since it's 2 separate motions, we separated on the agenda, so. All right, so all those in favor of item A, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. And B, the allocation of reallocation of CIP funds. Thank you. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any other discussion on it? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. And let's see. Item C, authorize finance director to assist Goldberg Group Architects in seeking requests for proposals from interested municipal advisors.
This item was really started and requested by Larry Goldberg, who advised that the county should enlist the services of a municipal advisor if we were to agree and sign contract with him for his services. This really falls under kind of Dennis's, excuse me, financial realm. So Dennis I'd like you to speak to this if you could. And he's got, I think, some handouts that you've already received on what a municipal advisor could do for the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, projects this big really do require a municipal advisor, financial advisor. They're way above and beyond what we do on a local level here. So, in the timeline on this, usually takes 4 to 5 months to get the study done through Larry and the advisor. Roughly 3 to 3.5 months before we start finalizing funding options, ballot timing and language, et cetera, for the bonds consideration decision-making process. Now, during this process, the financial advisor, as I understand from Larry, they do not get paid basically till closing on the bonds. That's assuming an election goes through, it passes, we get the process going through the bonds and getting them sold. Okay, and the third handout on the packet I did give you, this was an example of a town that did hire financial advisors. Their proposal will go out and get RFPs on it. On the first page, 2 of 6, you'll see what the role of a financial advisor is. That's serving as county's advisor, serve as a county's advisor on this debt financing project, provide independent financial advice and serve solely the interests of the county, and manage the bond financing process and negotiate key business points to accomplish the county's objectives. And then at the bottom of page 2, all of page 3, and the first third of page 4 show all the other responsibilities that they would have and what their scope of services would be. And there's quite a few of them. But it follows through from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, negotiating the bonds, getting them sold, things like that. So you kind of review that there, but that is why we need a financial advisor.
What's the typical fee on something like that?
That I do not know. Yeah, I think it's a certain percent of the project. Larry would have a better idea on that. But this is why we bid it out.
Sure.
In Missouri, they did a jail project down there. They did RFPs for financial advisors. They got them as far away as Switzerland. These are huge companies that come in and do offer the, do the project. So they come from all over the United States and obviously the world. And this will be a major project.
Are we required to do an RFP on this, Joshua? Is it services, or does it reach a certain threshold that we would need to otherwise?
It's not required. It would be a best practice for something like this.
Yeah, and that was the advice of Larry Goldberg as well.
And do we put into that RFP that they don't get paid until, I mean, to me, it would seem like,
Probably an industry standard is my guess.
It's not.
It's not.
I would be surprised if it was, because essentially you're saying you're not going to get paid unless the bond issue passes, which is, be nice. But.
Larry's comments on that were, it is drafted in a lot of the contracts. There's stipulated payment or sums. However, most of the time, he didn't say all of the time, he said most of the time, those payments are never made unless it goes to full construction.
I'm supportive of this. I just think we need to be careful how that's structured, because you may have very few and far between. Maybe that's why they had somebody from Switzerland, because if it's you're only going to get paid if there's a successful bond issue. That, to me, I could see a two-tiered structure where they're getting paid for a certain percentage and then, or a retainer, and then it's an executed fee if it's successful. But I'm supportive. I just think we need to consider those are two pretty divergent paths.
And I think when you write up the RFP, that should be included, yes. But you'll see the RFP before it even goes out to make sure it's fine-tuned.
It'll come back for reapproval by the board.
Yes,
Oh,
it would have to
absolutely.
be approved first by Joshua. Language would have to be in the board as well.
And then my other question is, I think we should think about where that money is going to come from. I mean, 1% of this is 400 to 500,000. So if it doesn't, and it's not structured that way, I don't think we need to go out and borrow for a failed bond issue. I mean, I think we just need to be very cognizant of, we're not
Right.
talking about,
And Joshua can speak to this better than I, but I believe it has to be, the sum or the amount of it has to be structured in a way that it has to be part of the referendum, or the total cost.
Well, one thing you do have to be careful about is when you're talking about a project that may exceed the threshold for a bond referendum, contracts for services would count towards that goal. So, I mean, the 1.2 million, and you hopefully wouldn't reach anywhere close to that just on services getting to that point. But yeah, it's something that you need to keep in mind.
Yep. When you look at what they consider 1.2 million, they include all those costs, just like Larry's cost here, the financial advisor cost, those will all be included as part of the bond issue cost. If it doesn't pass, then we'll have to figure out where we're going to get the money to pay these people for the service they have rendered. The big cost will be, once the bond issue is approved, that's where the financial advisor really kicks in.
but we would otherwise probably pay for it through CIP.
Yes.
Anyway, whatever that
Yes.
percentage is. If
Yep.
they structure it, that we don't have to, it's not all included, predicated on if the bond issue passes.
Correct. If the bond issue doesn't pass, we pay it out of our CIP.
So, I mean, we do the $1 million bonds almost annually, do we not? I mean,
Yes. We actually do capital loan notes, which we bid them out, the treasurer bids them out. We've been fortunate, the banks locally do bid on them, and the final bank normally is Security Bank. These really aren't, they're classified GO bonds or TIF bonds, but not to the magnitude of this. This is something we cannot bid out locally, because,
they don't want to lend us 50 million?
no. They might go up to 10 million, but they won't go to 50. 50 is big,
Sure.
because you have to get a bond rating and everything. We're probably double A, I would assume. We've never borrowed money using a financial advisor before.
And that's another procedure that the municipal
Part of the
advisor
scope.
performs.
Yes.
Determining the bond rating and helping get that bond rating.
Okay. Well,
I'll move this.
I'll second it. Motion by Taylor, second by Ratty. Any other questions on
Just
it?
have one real quickly. What does this do to our, I know our debt threshold is very, very low. What would this do if we took on 40 to 50 million more? What would the percentage?
Our debt capacity is right around 350 million, so you'd be using about 1/6 of it. So
Instead
get,
of like one, what are we at right now?
oh, right now we're about 3%. This will bump us up to about 12.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to reports on committee meetings.
Just appreciative of our county conservation parks and a couple of kids that participated in 2 different camps and had excellent experiences and fishing and survival. That's all I got.
Matthew. Rocky.
No.
Marty. Yeah. I can't think of anything right now. Let's move on to citizen concern round 2. Any from the media? All right. If you like the artwork I saw, that's our, thank you, Kenny, for getting that up. I was going to ask, who was it that made the frame there? Retired police officer. Yes, Mike McCormick. Thank you, Mike McCormick, for making that frame and working with, who was the frame shop then? Did the matting. It's the one downtown, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Copel?
Joey?
All right, so when I want to give credit, I got to remember names better. Yeah, looks great on the wall. Maybe we'll get a couple more pieces up there. So it kind of makes us a little more nice to look around, a little more ambiance here. Moving
I
on.
can't see anything with the pillar.
Yeah, I actually asked that specifically.
Yeah.
Don't let Matthew see it. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Rocky's got the best view over there. So, that's why we got to get a second piece down there. Maybe you can see it. So, board concerns, round one here.
Just really quickly, I had some conversations with Kenny the last 2 to 3 weeks on the courthouse and making sure that we know that we have in front of us the LEC, secondary roads. I mean, those are the two other big pieces, but just looking at a project, maybe one of the sites that was of most concern in the south, to keep moving the ball downfield. So we'll come back with a recommendation, but those needs are still there. And so while we're maybe very focused on the LEC, just want to keep picking up first downs, even if we can't pick up a touchdown.
Is that possible without another bond issue?
I think in terms of prioritization, like on the exterior terracotta, that may be, if we looked at that one, or at least that one side, we're the worst of the worst, so.
And my opinion on that, I think we should probably pitch the whole thing as a bond issue first, because on that, I think you're going to get a lot better rate if you can do the whole building all at once. And one bid, one contractor, the work's consistent. That's my opinion. It's going to be more expensive up front, but it's going to be cheaper long run, and it's going to be a better product. That's just my thinking on that. But that's, again, down the road. I think we look at our jail. It's kind of the biggest pressing need. That's my opinion. Any other questions on that? Yes?
Not on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Dennis, on that historical thing, I forgot to bring that letter down, but I was going to ask about that. Is I think that something you brought up, Matthew, wasn't about we weren't going to be any longer, whatever it is.
Yes, I brought that to the board last year.
Right.
We voted to fill the requirements,
Never did.
never did.
Right. So we got the letter from,
Yeah.
Keith got the
Yes.
letter there. I got a copy.
Oh, you didn't get copied to everybody? Yeah, okay.
just
Is that something we want to actually pursue? I mean, was there a benefit to it? That's the,
The discussion was that
Matthew asked.
It's the third time.
yeah.
Like,
What was the benefit? I don't even remember. I mean,
easier access to federal grants.
okay.
And I thought.
For what?
refresh
For
my
this
memory,
building?
When we talked about it in the committee, that the committee didn't seem like there was the appetite. Basically, we'd be disbanding the committee. I mean, all present members would be off to do it the way that they would like it done. So we do have a preservation committee, but just not the way that they would like it.
State Historical Society prefers citizens to lead it, and the way we've set it up is that the board representatives assure there's meetings, and we also discuss historical preservation as it relates to county departments.
And the citizens that are currently serving wouldn't be able to serve on it except for one.
I just brought it up because I knew I got it. I didn't know if everybody else was aware of it.
So do nothing.
I don't, unless there's a tangible, like, this is what you're gonna be able to get, I don't.
I just think we've been terrible pen pals with the
Yeah, I
Historical
would-
Society
would
because
agree
they've
with that.
asked us for, can you just say you don't want to be on it? We can't even send them that letter.
Sure.
So eventually they just had enough, and
But it did leave open the opportunity to.
Right,
if
you
at
can
some
always-
point.
Yeah.
Name yourself.
start it back up and
Right.
create the committee or commission.
Yeah, because we're not even at the point of considering applying for anything anyway, right? I mean, so,
And Sharon, as Jeremy said, there is no appetite to.
right, okay. All right, Matthew,
Nope.
Marty?
I just have one, Mark, I wanna, you're tired of hearing me saying, oh, let's not drop the ball on the gravel idea.
Well, I'm not, we'll come, I'll just give you a quick update.
I get at least 2 or 3 calls or emails a week saying, okay, what's gonna happen, or we just get talked about and then drop?
Nope, when I get back from vacation, I'll have a proposal for the board. We've selected the roads that we're looking at upgrading, basically anything with 50 vehicles a day or more, or with the residents on it. We have, trying to remember right now, I think it's 120 miles of road that'll be proposed for the level B system. And we'll be bringing both of those for your consideration. Should have them in advance of the planned meetings around the county. So we'll be able to take those maps along with us, put them on a poster board, and let folks look and throw rocks at it, so. That's right, blow sand, yeah. Yeah, they'll bring it by the bucket load, throw blow sand at it, so.
So what was that date you were thinking there?
It'll be, let's see, I'm on vacation next week. It would be probably the 20th of August.
Okay, August 20th, all right.
Yep.
Ish.
Yeah, I'll have it on that. And it'll just be a discussion item at that point in time.
Make sure we're still moving.
No, we have been, and, you know, Kyle Gates has done a lot of work in analysis of our road system as far as bringing in DOT data on traffic and going through our real estate data so that we're sure we're getting out to where all the homes are so that we don't forget to get those home farms and residences out there included within the upgrade project. And I think the level B proposal will be an important one for us. There are roads that already we don't plow in the winter. And having that warning out there that level B maintenance, no snow removal, I think is going to be a service improvement for people who occasionally go back on one of those in the winter and then end up getting stuck. So I think it'll be worth discussion and further review. So.
Thanks.
Out of curiosity, by the time we do our out in the county meetings, would it be available to have some kind of like poster put together of the quality of gravel used, why we use what we use, and what other options would be?
Yeah, I can show a cost estimate for sure of the other options because we are still going to try our little limestone experiment. You know, right now, districts 3 and 4 are hauling their own gravel out to their roads that are in this year's gravel program. We still have to do the trucking for District 2, and then we're waiting. We came up short on gravel last year, so we don't have any gravel for the District 5 program yet, but that will be coming. In the next 2 weeks, the board will see this year's gravel contracts, we're hoping. We took our quotations this year, and they've been submitted. The contracts have been sent to Hallett for approval for our regular stockpile gravel. Just getting limestone to the county line, or picking it up at the pit, is about the same cost as gravel from our gravel pits to our most distant stockpile. So we're looking in the $14 a ton range at the quarry. Plus it has to be hauled here. So the options aren't cheap. You know, we continue to work on improving our quality control. If we have to plant staff out there when we're doing a big gravel contract, I guess that's what we might have to look at doing in the future. The sample, we take samples at random right now during production and then run them through the sieve to assure that they meet our standards. We use the same standards for gravel gradation as recommended by Federal Highway Administration, by the South Dakota LTAP, which has done extensive studies on gravel roads. And I think you would find our gradation is the same as our neighboring counties as well. Crawford, Monona, Plymouth all come down here and buy gravel trucks. Buying out of the same piles, same pits that, well, with the exception of our pits, we don't sell to, out of the railroad pit or out of Brazy. That's all for our own use, but the Wright gravel pit and the commercial pits in the county, one's owned by Everest, I can't think of the name of it right now, up on Preston Boulevard. All of those are coming from the same resources that we utilize, so. We have a lot of company, I guess, if it's inappropriate material, and I don't think that it is. As I've said for a long time, our biggest problem is when you've only got 1.5, 2 inches out there, and you have a, whether it's a 3-inch washboard or a 3-inch pothole or a 3-inch tire rut, every time our guys make a blading pass, they are pulling silts and fines from the sub base up into that gravel, and it doesn't take long for it to look like the sand it's reputed to be.
On another note, did you get that forward about the shoulder issue? I think that was probably a DOT jurisdiction on that.
Rocky passed it to me yesterday, and it was in my email inbox as well. And we went out and checked our old Highway 20 right away. When they were talking about an old asphalt road, that was what leapt to mind. But then when we didn't find anything on our road, and when I reread it, I realized they were talking about those asphalt portions of 4-lane Highway 20. So we contacted John Jepson at Iowa DOT, and he said they would attend to it that afternoon. So
Okay.
I see they've done a lot of shoulder work. I didn't go over in that area and look at it, however. I believe it's been addressed.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, I got just one more thing to say.
Sure. Go ahead.
A Woodbury County Taekwondo school went to the U.S. Open in Colorado Springs, brought back 12 gold medals, 11 silver medals, and 5 bronze medals.
All right.
8 athletes and 1 broken down old man.
All right.
Yeah. So I contributed 2 of the golds and a silver and 3 bronze.
All right.
Nice.
Sounds great.
Just for information purposes, we did cut our first check today. You approved to Rolling Hills, which were on our goal to fulfill our compatibility with cash balances and our quarterly payments. So we're going to make it.
Sweet. It would be nice to hear from a couple of, I don't know if you want to set this up, Jeremy, or if we ask somebody, or somebody does it, but get somebody like Siouxland Mental Health in here, maybe a couple providers to maybe give us an update of what it's like working in the new region. I think it would be nice to have before the board and just open to the public where anyone can come in and ask them questions. And the media is going to be right here. It's a great opportunity to see what the actual people that utilize the regions think of the new region. So that's my personal opinion. I'd like to know as they're moving.
With Dawn's level of responsiveness and how often she's been here, that she's welcome an opportunity like that.
So I don't know if you got a meeting time frame that would be good, if you could bring it up with her, and then we can get it going on the agenda.
I know we have a governance board meeting in the next couple of weeks, so I can bring that up.
Sounds great. I also have a feeling on our jail, on letting people know the need, and Kenny, I think we should work with Dave on this, but having maybe a media day where we go through the jail, kind of show, some of the situations that are going on in there that we can show the public. And then also maybe going down to a couple of prospective sites down by the airport, why these maybe fit the need for a location for a new jail, I think would be good. So maybe a little media bus tour. But I'd also like, and I don't know if we can get with John up in Wick here and see if we have somebody with some really good video skills too, that we could put together our own video on our website, kind of going along each stop on this tour and editing it together for, making the case kind of video, not necessarily to sell the public on anything, but just to inform people on why we're pursuing this and having that easily available on our website. And it's something I've thought of. If you guys are on board with it, I think it's a good idea. Just let me know what you think here, I guess.
I think to the maximum extent that we can inform the public and give them as much information as possible, and a lot of times people are visual learners, so this is kind of the flip side of the historic centennial, but if we could do something like that, I think it'd be powerful. If we keep it to 2 to 3, 4 minutes, so that it can be cut well and professionally done.
That's why I don't know if we have that expertise in our IT department. I mean, somebody might just like to do that kind of stuff for fun, Not making fun of IT guys as the pigeonholed nerd here, but, there's a lot of guys that really enjoy doing, and gals, like doing this kind of stuff, so. You guys good with that? All right. So, and that is basically all I had, so anyone else have anything good? All right, we're adjourned. What's that? Oh,